UFC 312 just wrapped up, and it was pretty interesting. Boring, but interesting, because the one fight that we were mainly hyped for was Strickland versus DDP, right? Sorry, my fucking PC is killing itself. But that fight, Dricus looked amazing. He had the volume. He had everything to deal with Strickland. But Strickland just looked fucking horrible. Horrible, and I predicted that this was going to be a close fight. I thought that this fight was going to leave a bad taste in fans' mouths, because I guessed that it was going to go to another split decision, because I thought these guys were very even, and I thought both of them were going to adapt from the first fight. DDP did, but Strickland just didn't fucking change anything. He didn't do anything. He tried to throw like a few more teeps maybe, but there was no sense of urgency from him, which it doesn't make any sense to me. There's a few things I'm going to get into here, but first off, let's just talk about the 4th and 5th round, right? Going into those 4th and 5th rounds, the last 2 rounds, Strickland's coach is like, hey bro, you're down 3 rounds. You need a finish. You need to do something different. You need to do something besides jabbing and teeping your way to a 45-50 decision on his part. And he just doesn't fucking listen. He does the same exact bullshit for the next 2 rounds. And usually, at the end of Strickland fights, in the last 10 seconds, he's gonna actually stand and throw and pretend that he's being a warrior. He didn't even try to do that this time. He just knew. He's like, yeah, I'm not gonna do anything this time. It was legitimately just like he was sparring. It was like he was doing light sparring. And it really disappointed me, right? Because this fight could have been so much better, because Strickland, he had some moments, okay? He had some moments where he would hit DDP with a combination or something, and it wouldn't stun DDP. It wouldn't stun him, but it would get through and it would hit him. But for every one of those that Strickland had, DDP had 5 good moments for him. And it was kind of disappointing, because it's not that DDP was just so much better. I think it's more that Strickland was just so fucking awful, and he just didn't do anything. And I think he could have made this a much more competitive fight. You talk about going to war, and you talk about, yo guys, to the fucking death for you guys. And then he goes out there, and he has no urgency. He didn't even try to finish Dricus in the last 2 rounds. He kept slowly doing the same thing, jabbing and teeping and lifting his leg, checking the kicks, and just keeping on doing this. He didn't even try anything. Did he throw a side body kick or a head kick? He didn't even shoot a takedown. I know Strickland doesn't shoot takedowns, but his coach did an interview with Ariel, and I think it's really interesting, because I think you guys should all go and watch it. Strickland's coach is essentially like, yeah dude, I'm so disappointed. Strickland's coach, kind of in a nice way, said that he doesn't want to coach Strickland anymore. He's like, what do you want, Strickland? Do you want to be a world champion, or do you just want to get money fights, right? And I have to agree with him. After a performance like that, it's just what are you doing, man? I mean, think about all the things that you could have tried to implement. Knees, or actual head kicks, wrestling, MMA. You could have done MMA instead of just jabbing and teeping, but he didn't do any of it. And the thing that shocks me the most, I just don't understand what was going through his head. And sure, he got hurt bad in the 4th round. Maybe he didn't try to finish him in the 5th because he was hurt too bad. But even still, in those first 3 rounds, first round was kind of close, a little bit close. But after that, it was essentially all DDP. And he's just making the same mistakes from the first fight and in all of his fights, dude. What is it? 8 split decisions in his career? 8 split decisions. If he wants to keep fighting at championship level in the UFC, which he's not going to get a title shot anymore, no shot. But if he wants to keep, actually being up there in the rankings, he needs to evolve his style badly, right? Because people are figuring out how to beat him, okay? DDP, and I just want to say, DDP's performance was amazing, right? We've never seen anybody shut Sean Strickland down like that. And DDP's cardio, bro. In the first 2 rounds, I was like, wow, DDP's doing really good. but he's throwing so much output. I'm like, is he going to be able to keep up with Strickland? Because Strickland won't get tired. But DDP, I mean, in the 4th and 5th rounds, DDP's mouth was like open. He was breathing heavy. And I'm like, oh boy, DDP might be getting tired. But no, he just keeps on throwing. Because there's no threat coming back from Strickland. Keeps on throwing. DDP out-volumed Strickland. Strickland is usually the volume guy. DDP was able to out-volume him, out-cardio him, out-strike him, out-land him, and Strickland has one of the best defenses, or best like boxing defense. He's one of the hardest guys to hit in the upper weight classes. So I really don't know if this is like a Strickland did awful, or a DDP is just that good. And I think it's some of both. Strickland, he just didn't even try. I keep saying this, but he, like, in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, he didn't even try to throw a head kick, throw anything to, potentially rock DDP. He just kept doing the same old thing, which obviously, you're not going to get a finish like that, and you're not going to win the fight like that. He knew that. He had 10 minutes to think about that. And he didn't even really try to mix it up. He could have done takedowns. I know his entire thing is like, bro, I'm a fucking man, bro. I don't do takedowns. Just throw some takedowns, man. For real. Like, your game would be so much more better if you fight like a mixed martial artist. And I say this for a lot of guys, right? Like, Alex Pereira, he's a kickboxer. I love his style, great fighter, but he's a kickboxer. And you take a guy like Islam Makhachev. That guy is an MMA fighter. MMA fighters are always going to be the best because they can mix it up. Islam can strike, kick. He can, he has a great clinch game, takedowns, wrestling is amazing. But Strickland, if you only use the jab and the teep, it's just not going to get you anywhere, man. And what's next for Strickland? Man, I really don't know, bro. I mean, what do we even want to see? I mean, people used to be a fan. Strickland used to have a very big fan base. But after his last few fights, I mean, of just boring decisions, it's like, I just don't even care. Like, what are we going to do with him anymore? I don't know. I don't care. Dude, Alex Pereira was in his corners. Like, what the fuck is this guy doing? He's not doing anything. But, yeah, so, Sean Strickland, I don't know what's next for him. Horrible fucking performance. But DDP, I was so impressed with, right? Because we've never seen we've seen people beat Strickland, but we've never seen anybody dominate him like a 50-45 in the same way that Dricus did, right? Because most people, they can win off of Strickland he's gotten knocked out twice in the UFC, Alex Pereira, and by one, like, spinning kick or something. But the way people beat him is usually by split decision, just barely by the skin of their teeth. DDP dominated him, almost finished him in the 4th round. I was surprised Strickland survived. But DDP, we have DDP versus Khamzat Chimaev, and wow, this is an interesting fight. And I'm going to make another video. I already did make a video on this, but I think I'm going to make another one talking about it. But wow, it's such an interesting fight. I actually think DDP is going to win, because from what we've seen from Khamzat, after the 1st round, he, turns into a not very threatening fighter at all. So I think if DDP can survive that 1st round, he's going to have a lot of success and can probably TKO Khamzat in the later rounds maybe. But I'm going to talk about that more in a different video. But we need DDP to beat Khamzat and Pereira to beat Ankalaev, because after that, you know what we get? We get a super fight between DDP and Alex Pereira. And, dude, this is a huge fucking fight. And I've been saying this, that I made a video on this a week ago, that Dricus is the most underappreciated champion in the UFC. And if you're counting him out against the fight with Alex, you're wrong, dude. Because this is going to be a very interesting fight. Because one thing that we know about Dricus is he has amazing game plans, bro. The Whitaker game plan was completely different from the Adesanya game plan to the Strickland game plan to the second fight with the Strickland game plan. And he's going to have an actual good game plan against Pereira. His game plan's not going to be, I'm going to go in there and strike with you. That's not going to be DDP's game plan, obviously. He's not going to be stupid like all of Pereira's last opponents. The most impressive thing about Pereira is that he somehow uses his black magic to get all of his opponents to just strike with him and not wrestle. It's insane. But DDP's not going to do that. He's going to mix up the wrestling, and that doesn't make it an easy fight for DDP, no. Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira was super interesting, because that was a while ago, so Alex has had some time to improve his skills since. And Jan Blachowicz did have a tough time taking Pereira down. I'm not going to say tough time, maybe, but Pereira survived. He held his own on the ground. And Jan Blachowicz is a big guy, bigger than Dricus. Dricus is huge. He's buff. But Pereira's going to have the size advantage. He's just going to be way taller, so much bigger in there. And can Dricus consistently take down Pereira? I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that a little bit more. I'm still probably favoring Pereira to win, probably, but man, like, Dricus is so underrated, I don't know. He could beat Pereira. He might be the guy to do it. He genuinely might be the guy to do it, but I don't know. But I really hope that fight happens. But Sean Strickland, back to Sean Strickland. What is next for him? I don't know, man. Give him some sort of middleweight. Give him like a knockout artist or something, because I kind of want to see him get knocked out, I'm not going to lie. Because he needs to evolve his style badly. And go watch the interview with his coach. It was Ariel and his coach. His coach was literally saying, like, essentially saying in the nicest way possible, yeah, I'm going to have a conversation with this guy to see if, he's still fit for me to coach. Because he just didn't listen. And I don't blame him after a performance like that. So, yeah. What do you think about Strickland's performance? What's next for him? And does DDP beat Hamzat and Alex? Let me know what you guys think. That's about it, and I'll see you.